And howdy, everybody! Happy Sabbath, everyone. Howdy, Matt. Howdy, Landon. And that, how was everyone's week?
Busy.
Yeah. Busy week.
Yeah. It was not horrible, but it seems like it was dragging each day, but the week went fast. If that makes sense. Anyways, you guys ready to read?
Yep.
All right. Today we are continuing on in the Word in the book of Leviticus with chapters 11 and 12. Yeah, imagine that. If you want to read along with us, you don't have a paper Bible, you got KingJamesBibleOnline.org, BlueLetterBible.org, multiple translations, eSword.net, multiple translations, free download of the King James, maybe something else too. That BibleHub.com, lots of translations and maps. Map Bible study tools, I think they have maps also. And they got audio Bibles because everybody loves to listen to the Bible. Thou shalt hear. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and pray in, shall we? Heavenly Father, thank you very much for today, where we can kick back and get some catch-up rest. Thank you for that. Thank you for getting us together so we can study your word. And we very much thank you for leaving this written word behind, that we can come together and fellowship in the name of your Son and learn what it is that you need us to get. We ask for you to pour out your Spirit on everybody here now and in the future so that they get the message you need everybody to receive. We would ask your healing touch on those people that are having some foot issues and shoulder issues, and also people that are suffering from interpersonal conflicts with family. You know who they are. We thank you for that. Bless you. We love you. In Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Leviticus Capitulo 11. Who was going first? Whoever's going first, go ahead.
And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, "Speak to the people of Israel, saying, These are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, and choose the cud. Among the animals you may eat. Nevertheless, among those that chew the cud or part the hoof, you shall not eat these. The camel, because it chews the cud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. And the rock badger, because it chews the cud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. And the hare, because it chews the cud, but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. And the pig, because it parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, but does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. You shall not eat any of their flesh. You shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. These you may eat of all that are in the waters. Everything in the waters that has fins and scales, whether in the sea or in the rivers, you may eat. But anything in the seas or the rivers that do not have fins and scales, of swarming creatures in the waters, and of the living creatures that are in the waters, is detestable to you. You shall regard them as detestable. You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall detest their carcasses. Everything in the waters that does not have fins and scales is detestable to you. And these you shall detest among the birds. They shall not be eaten. They are detestable. The eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind, every raven of any kind, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl, the cormorant, the short-eared owl, the barn owl, the tawny owl, the carrion vulture, the stork, the heron of any kind, the hoopoe, and the bat. Oh, I went past. My bad.
That's all right. All fowls that creep going upon all fours shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these you may eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. And for these you shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the evening. And whoever beareth out of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. The carcass of every beast which divideth the hoof is not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all fours, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until even. They are unclean unto you. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth, the weasel and the mouse, and the tortoise after his kind, and the ferret, and the carmeleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean unto you among all that creep. Whoever does touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until evening. And upon whosoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack. Whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the evening, so it shall be cleansed. And every earthen vessel, whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is it in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. All the meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh, shall be unclean, and all drink that may be drunk, and every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges for pots. They shall be broken down, and they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which toucheth their carcass shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
And if any beast of which you may eat die, he that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the even. And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them shall ye not eat, for they are an abomination. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that you should be defiled thereby. For I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beasts, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. Leviticus chapter 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation. And she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her. And she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that hath borne a male or a female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. All righty. Let's go back, shall we? To chapter 11. Okay, what'd you guys notice? What's jumping out at you?
Well, one thing I was thinking about this last few weeks was the whole thing about if it's been in a vessel, you're to basically destroy the vessel. I think about that, like, so say you go into like a pizza shop and you buy a cheese pizza. Well, every vessel that all that stuff's been in has had pork in it in some way. The ovens have had pork in it. It makes me wonder, if we should even be eating stuff when it's running through the same ovens and whatnot.
Right. You ever go to a diner, like a place that serves breakfast, and you get eggs and hash browns that are cooked on the same grill as the sausage and bacon?
Yeah. That's
And then later you're like, I don't feel good. Stop at that porta potty.
Yeah, it would technically still be unclean, in my opinion.
Construction workers are like, get out of our porta potty.
I hear more than anything. Well, you just pick that part off.
Yeah. Yep. Very interesting. Yeah, that's interesting though, about the vessels. And I don't recall reading it in this chapter today, but I was thinking about earlier, we were reading about something that's told to the priests is that they break the clay vessel that gets contaminated, but then if it's metal, they have to scour it before they use it.
What's that mean?
Scrub it.
Sounds like you can't get it out of the clay.
Yeah,
in the metal.
Clay is pretty
Porous.
I was going to say absorbative, but yeah, I'm making up words here. That's what happens when you get up early. Anyways, so this is very interesting because Landon was reading this first part.
I figured it was going to be off. I could tell when I was reading. I'm like, there's no way those words are the same.
Well, I think that they're just picking animals out. Whoever's doing that particular translation. Well,
I don't think I like badgers.
yeah. you're gonna have the southern version that's
It's
like making possums clean.
Right.
it makes you wonder why he distinguished the cloven hoof and the cud thing. Like you have to have both. Like
Right.
one can chew the cud, but if it's not cloven, so like horses and donkeys don't have cloven hoofs, so they're not clean meat. And then you got sheep that do both; they have cloven hoofs. But then the pig has a cloven hoof, doesn't chew the cud. It's just I don't know. It's just weird to me that that's the distinguishing factor between land animals.
Well, I know with the rabbits, the rabbit family, the hare family, that because they don't have the hoof, the cloven hoof, but they chew their cud. But
Mhm.
they also eat their own poop,
Gross.
which
I didn't know that.
yeah, they can somehow that can trigger some sort of
There,
thing that they carry in their body.
there's a show like these homesteading shows where this person tried to live off just rabbit, and apparently it was killing. Like they almost died because there's something the meat doesn't give you. I was like, but it's a huge trend now. Like I have a lot of neighbors out here. They're like, I'm going to raise rabbits. I'm raising rabbits, and I'm thinking, you're raising an unclean animal for your main food source. Pretty not good.
I'd raise kangaroos, not to eat though. So that'd be fun.
It's a big trend though in this homesteading stuff is rabbits because they multiply so fast.
They're cute and soft, but I mean,
Okay.
So are squirrels.
It's interesting because earlier in the week I was thinking about the animals in the water, right? So we can eat, according to this, whatever has fins and scales, and contrary to like what a lot of Torah terrorists would say, well, that fish isn't completely covered in scales and only has some scales. It doesn't say that. It says if it has fins and scales. Speaking specifically about certain species of tuna, they say are unclean. But I was thinking about, because the word, right, is a two-edged sword, so it cuts two different directions. And, right, basically, what is this? Any living thing which is in the waters, right, is an abomination to you if it doesn't have fins and scales. And it's real popular now to eat shellfish and stuff. And
Squid.
yeah, well, I was specifically thinking about the shellfish. And it's funny because if you make the argument about it being unclean to eat, people argue that. No, everything's been clean now. Look at what Peter was told. And yeah, snails, stuff like that. Anyways, they work as a filter for the ocean, and we're pulling that stuff out of the waters, freshwater and seawater, by tens of thousands of tons per day. And the water's getting poisoned, right? The water's getting polluted. So I think that's the other side of the sword, at least for the seafood part, that we're not looking at. We're supposed to be stewards of the earth.
It's like eating. Have you ever seen those dung beetles?
Yeah.
It's disgusting. The minute a turd hits the ground out here, there's like 1,000 of those beetles making a little ball of it and rolling it around. It's like eating those things because that's what they do. They eat poop.
dung beetle named Sisyphus.
Right. And that, yeah, like some of the land animals were named differently in Landon's translation, and same thing with the birds.
I figured I knew it.
You know those those. What are those birds out here that come every fall? The storks or whatever.
Storks?
Yeah, I don't think those
Crane.
are clean. Cranes. There you go.
Yeah, the big ones.
But there's a thing out here where people call it ribeye in the sky. It don't look like ribeye to me, but people eat them.
I don't know. I worked with a dude that went hunting those one time, and he didn't get any because he said, "Dude, you wouldn't believe how big they are. You think they're in range. You start blasting at them with your shotgun, and they're like way out of range still."
I went to get some feed the other day at that farm nearby. They have those round pivot fields, you know?
Yeah.
There was millions of those cranes just as far as the eye could see on those fields. They said they can't plant in the fall because of them. It's just a waste of time.
What are they eating out there?
I don't know.
Mice and stuff?
There is so many of them on those fields. It was pretty cool. It's like, man, there's more over here than there is at that water hole in the middle of the valley.
Speaking of mice, verse 29, the mouse is unclean, the weasel and the tortoise. That's a big thing. Turtle soup.
Gross. You're right there.
A lot of places.
A lot of people argue ducks, Margaret, if they are and aren't.
Yeah, they argue about whether ducks are clean or unclean.
Mm-hmm. They're cute. That's probably the coolest bird animal. Ducks.
Well, that's interesting because I've heard one argument that because we're not supposed to eat the fat, and ducks are really fatty, real greasy, so you don't eat them.
They're darker meat.
Right.
But ducks are cool. I had a bunch of ducks. Coyotes got them all. I miss them. They're so cool. Ducks follow you everywhere like a dog.
Don't geese do that too?
I haven't had geese because I'd like to get some eventually.
Now, it's interesting because it talks about if they fall into like a pitcher, if a body of something that's unclean falls into a pitcher of water, the pitcher's unclean. But if it falls into like a pond, the pond's still clean because it's plenty of water. And that interesting. And if it falls on seed that you're going to be sowing, the seed is clean. But don't eat the seed, right? Don't make it into bread. It doesn't say that, but I think that's implied.
Rescued, ate a raccoon as a kid. But
What?
That was tasty.
Who did?
Rescued. Raccoons are weird. Their hands are like people's hands. I've never seen a raccoon out here. Do you guys have them in the cities?
Yeah, I saw one over at my brother-in-law's. He was sitting there, and all of a sudden he makes this, because I had my back to the chain link fence on the alley. He makes this weird face. I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "That's a raccoon." And I turned around, and it was weird. There was like this herd of cats, like 7 cats, and one big raccoon in the middle of them. And this is in the, this is 3 blocks from the interstate.
Our raccoon out here is called a javelina.
No, but I did see a badger one day driving up there to see you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen badgers out here every once in a while. The javelinas, though, they dump trash cans, and man, they're just like raccoons.
Yeah.
but way grosser.
Yep. They'll slice you with their tusk too.
Yeah. In the cities, they're not even afraid of people.
Nope.
Hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, this chapter sums up with, this is the law of beasts and of the fowl and of every living creature that moves in the waters, and every creature that creeps on the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
How'd that badger get its driver's license, John? The one you saw driving?
So when I was driving, it was running. You know how they run? They got that because their body's like a short-legged dachshund.
I hear
Yeah.
they're incredibly smart, though.
I don't know. Never tried training one.
Well,
All right,
if they have them at like reserves or like zoos, they're like escape artists, and they can think on like multiple levels on how to get out of a situation and get out of the case. It's quite fascinating. Unless it was just like one really smart badger, I don't know. That's possible too.
You see their holes all over out here, but I think I've only ever seen one badger popping out of those holes. But they're everywhere. It's weird. So they're pretty hard to find.
Now, in chapter 12, how is yours worded in verse 2, Landon?
Speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. As at the time of her menstruation, she shall be unclean.
That's interesting because the way the King James states it says, if a woman have conceived seed, it just made me...
Yeah, that totally changes the meaning.
It makes it sound more like, I don't know. What's that called when a seed in the ground, like a watermelon seed, sprouts, germinates?
Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds like that. If a woman has a seed that's germinated, I don't know, just interesting.
To me, it makes me think of like your seed moving on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because with the man, your name and whatever goes with the boy continues on.
Yeah, it's interesting. So for a boy, 33 days, so 33 days that she continues being, she's not going to touch any hallowed thing, any holy thing, or come into the sanctuary until her X amount of time has passed for the boy. So 33 days. And then for a girl, it's 66 days. So twice as long.
Wow. I'm curious if any women have done this.
Recently, you mean?
Yeah, like in our time.
I don't know. Anybody, if you know of anyone that's done that, post it in the chat. That, not their name or anything, just say yes, you know if they've done it or not. And that is, so it's double everything. So basically a week for the boy, and then he gets circumcised, and then another 33 days is what it sounds like. And then with the girl, it's 2 weeks and then 66 days. Is that what it sounds like or looks like?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what total? 66, that'd be 80 days total. Interesting, because that's like Moses' total time up on the mountain.
Are they like raising turtles? Why is one of the things bring 2 turtles? Or
Oh, that's their word for turtle doves. Which, let's see, that word in, I almost said Spanish, that word in the Hebrew is 8449, meaning a ring dove. What do we call those? Ringneck dove?
okay, so it's birds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the smaller doves, the turtle dove here. We got the turtle dove and then the mourning dove. And I think it's the turtle doves are the migratory ones that you got a bag limit here of like 5 a day or something stupid. And then but you can go to Mexico and shoot like tens of thousands a day. Or at least Argentina. I don't know about Mexico, but it's a ridiculous amount. That's interesting. Brenda, so are they cleansing 2 females? Or instead of them getting circumcised, the girls get double time unclean? I don't know. Hey, cool. Howdy, rescued. Glad to hear James is okay. Yeah, it's interesting. And notice that in verse 8 of chapter 12, also, it's like the sin offering we read about before, where you got to bring a lamb, but if you can't afford a lamb, then you bring the doves or pigeons, and if you can't afford those, then it goes down to flour. This doesn't go that far down, but it's interesting, and I wonder if that's because it's a new life coming into the world. I don't have any idea. I'm just guessing. All right. Got anything else for chapter 11 or 12?
It's clearly a difference between clean and unclean food.
Yeah. And that, that's something I was talking with someone else about, because I remember years ago when people were saying that Jesus cleaned, he made all foods clean by saying whatever goes into the mouth goes into the belly, and then it passes out in the draft. And then some Bibles have a statement in parentheses that saying this, he made all foods clean. And somebody had found out that was added to the Bible in like 1926 or something like that. And somebody just happened to have a Bible that was older than that and looked it up, and sure enough, it wasn't in there.
Well, even if it was, then comes the argument of, did he ever declare it food? Did he ever declare a mouse food? Or no, not according to this.
He's just saying that it goes in your stomach and it gets passed out. That doesn't say that it's okay for eating. If you're starving to death, I think you're going to do what it takes to survive, probably.
Yeah, I think you're human.
No.
It's not clean. I'm just
that. And the other thing is,
would rain down, right?
Yeah,
right.
And then they try to couple that with Peter and the vision he had of the cloth being lowered down with every unclean animal. And the funny thing is, they say, see, you can eat everything. But it doesn't say in the book of Acts that Peter came down off the roof and said, hey, pigs on the menu, let's have a barbecue. Right? I mean, it says that he was like confused. He had no idea what it meant. And then the Holy Spirit showed him it was that Gentiles were not unclean as the Pharisees taught, which is what the meaning of the vision was. That which man calls, which God calls, what? How's the phrase? Common?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Or that which man calls common, don't call it uncommon, whichever way it goes. But the thing for that does in Acts 15, the Pharisees go and start giving the new Gentile believers a bunch of guff for things they're doing, and so the Council of Apostles back in Jerusalem, they say, okay, this is what you got to do. Stay away from things offered to idols, stay away from blood, things strangled, and don't fornicate. That's your starting point. That's what they say. This is where, if you do these things, then you're going to do well. This is part of the reason I think they took Maccabees out, or the Apocrypha out, is because in Maccabees, we're told that when Antiochus Epiphanes was sacrificing things in the temple to Apollo, it says he sacrificed swine and every unclean beast. Well, that right there tells you what they were sacrificing to idols. And then we can also look in the historical record that, like, what they offered up for Saturnalia and for Easter were pigs and rabbits and other things like that. So, in my opinion, that is what the apostles were telling them. Don't eat the things that you've seen offered to these idols.
Yeah, I really like the Book of Maccabees. It's a good
With the
book.
manly women,
The what?
the manly woman who's like, go ahead, kill all my sons. I don't care. We're not worshiping your gods.
Yeah, I just like how they kind of were just given an option to, like, okay, we're going to go against, Torah, or no, we're going to stand up and fight. It's a good story.
Yeah, it is. Yep, they do some horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the primary examples that they give is one large family and down to every last son, and eventually killing the mom too. They're like, this is what they were doing to everybody. They don't need to provide more examples. But anyways, yeah, I think, and the funny thing is when you have the people that say stuff like, well, we can eat pork now because they didn't have refrigeration back then, and they didn't know how to heat it up to a certain temperature so you didn't get tapeworms and stuff like that. But then when modern science comes out and says, hey, maybe we shouldn't be eating this, they still ignore it.
Well, and they say the protein in it is a different type of protein than clean meat, or your body, that's what actually gives you the adverse effects when you get rid of it later.
I've wondered about that too, Rescue, that because look at how they use pigs to put like heart valves in humans.
They have human eyes, human-looking eyes.
Right. I mean, they're trying to breed them now so that they can take a whole entire heart from a pig and put it in a human, which, just my opinion, yeah, skin grafts too. I disagree that they should. I don't think they should do transplants, organ transplants anyways, whether it's from a human or monkey or turtle or whatever.
Makes you wonder, because if you look at boars, like wild pigs, they don't look anything like the domesticated pigs. They're like, the domesticated pigs are like, they don't really have like fur. They just look weird.
Yeah, it's like that real wiry hair.
Mm-hmm.
Hogzilla.
Man, pig farms smell horrible.
Just one pig in a pen smells horrible. Just
Yeah. Their poop is like the worst smelling thing ever. I don't know why.
It's because they eat everything.
Charlotte's Web. I like that movie.
All right. Well, anything else on this stuff? Clean, unclean, babies, women with babies. Okay. Well, thanks for reading, Matt. Thanks for reading, Raymond.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you've benefited from this, or even if you haven't, like it, share it, subscribe it, and well, let all your friends know about it. Yeah, you don't get any coupons. You don't get don't really get anything other than the satisfaction of hanging out here and talking about weird pigs and what we're maybe not supposed to be eating, and arguing about that stuff. But where else are you going to get it? Where else are you going to get it? I don't know. And that, give me a thumbs up for Landon's shirt. All right, everybody. I love you all. Bye.
It was fun.